Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the longest and the greatest show in the history. Never mind. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of a Triple T Radio. That's Turnbuckles, Trunks, and Titles. But let's be honest with each other. What would this show really be without the host with the most? And he just happens to be one of the best looking men down in the Carolinas. He happens to be Cueball Carmichael. Q, how are you tonight, my friend?
Nick, I'm doing incredible. I hope you are too. Things are looking up in the world, I think, getting a little bit better. Everybody's doing their social distancing, wearing their masks, staying 6 feet apart. It seems to be spreading less. It seems to be going in the right direction. I think the people of America and Canada are working together. We're all North Americans, and I think that we're going to come out ahead on this thing.
Well, you know what? I had my doubts, but I will agree the social distancing is helping. The curve is slowly starting to flatten, which is it's great not only for you and me, but obviously for the entire world. At this point, let's be honest, U.S. and Canada, obviously our homes, most important. And yeah, you're right, man. Thank God we're all doing our part and we're making it happen. A little slower than planned, but
Yeah, and of course our other buddy John Stewart tested positive, and his wife and his dad's girlfriend, and John's dad is probably close to 80. I think he's 80, and his girlfriend's in the 60s. John's mom passed away years ago, but they are all got the virus, and they all had really fairly minor symptoms, which consisted of a fever for a few days for a couple of them. Some of them had no fever, more like a really bad head cold, a little bit sick in the stomach, but no super high fever, no congestion in the lungs, no need for a respirator. The doctor said they'd probably had it about 3 weeks, and we're almost out of it. I text with John every day. He says it's getting better every day. So there is hope that a lot of people get this virus, and they say that the symptoms are very small. You think you've got a regular cold or maybe a regular flu, and then of course other people get it, and they need to be on a respirator place. So it's really, indiscriminate on how it hits somebody. And you never really know if the symptoms are going to be horrible. I mean, I can't count the number of police officers in the private law enforcement only group I'm on Facebook with 250,000 members. I mean, we've lost 15 or 20 officers to the virus, but we've also had 5 or 6,000 get the virus, and get through it. So it's like any other disease. It hits everybody different. We just keep praying every day at the dinner table and every day in the morning, that it gets better and it takes less lives and people get healthier, and the CDC get a handle on this and get us a virus or a vaccine for it. So when it comes back around next year, because, it's basically biological
yeah,
warfare this time.
yes,
It's
I agree.
chemical released into the air that caused it. But, it's going to mutate and it's going to come back around as a regular flu again
I think
next year.
so too. I think so too.
Yeah, and hopefully they have a vaccine for it, because every year that I've got the flu vaccine, I've never got the flu, and all the years that I missed it, I seem to have gotten it. So there's something to getting a flu shot, even though there's a lot of weird stuff in it. But on to wrestling. Big news in wrestling, huh?
Brother, a lot of stuff has gone down. Releases of guys that even blew your mind. I mean, this whole last couple of weeks, man, since the quarterly stuff went out, the conferences with Vince, the investors, all these people that seem to be wanting to sue Vince right now, the whole thing is crazy. I don't even know how much you know of that. But all these guys that are coming out of the woodwork, they want to sue Vince McMahon. They want to sue the rest of the board of directors. You've got wrestlers that have been around for years. Mike Chioda, someone that you respect, someone you've known for years, being released. I mean, the business is on.
Mike and I, Tom Brandy, Mike Kalua, King Kalua, and a couple other guys were at Steve Carino's bachelor party in his first marriage, when him and his wife, before him and his wife had Colby. So that long ago, I've known Mike Chioda. He refs some of my matches in WWE. A great guy. I'm just stunned by that one. I got to tell you, that one stuns me. Mike has been 100% loyal. He's been there for 20 something years. He's really devoted the best part of his working life to the WWE. Um, and to me, that was just sort of a shock to see him in the list. Your wrestlers come and go every day. The one thing guaranteed when you sign with Vince, eventually you're going to be released. We all know that. It's a matter
That
of
is
time.
pretty much,
Everybody's
yeah.
got an expiration date up there. Doesn't
Yes.
matter who it is.
And
So
that
the
showed.
day you're hired, you're going to be released.
Yeah. And
You
that
hope.
shows.
Yeah,
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 it
it's true.
does.
You hope that it's a very long period of time and you're able to establish some financial wherewithal so that when you're released, you can buy a Jiffy Lube or something. But,
Yeah.
something, an ice cream shop. I don't know.
And it's funny because there's so much to talk about in this show. I just quickly want to run down the agenda really quick. One of the things, guys, I'm going to talk to Q about tonight is the rumor and innuendo that the WWE could be up for sale and that ESPN had their hands in on something. Fox had their hands in on something. There's another one, but I can't think right off the bat. I apologize, guys. But that's coming up here on this episode. I'm definitely going to talk to Q about it. Where does this leave the board of directors? Where does this leave people like Stephanie McMahon, Shane McMahon, Vince McMahon, Paul Levesque? You got to include him in it because no matter how you look at it, he's high up on the food chain. Main eventers, top mid carders, enhancement talent. Maybe this could be a dream for them because they'd be coming in to do the enhancement to make the guy look good. All sorts of stuff to talk about. Obviously, we're going to talk to you guys about all the releases. I want to really settle down into that stuff because I think a lot of people are mind blown. And the thing is, guys, it's been really hard for me and Q to sit down and do this show because last week he was on the road. The week before that, everything was messing up. So it's been a few weeks since me and Q really sat down to talk to you guys. So first and foremost, we missed you guys like crazy.
Yeah, it's been strange not doing the show. And, it was really weird. We tried to do it from my remote location last week, but there was just not enough internet bandwidth to do it, to be able to get it on Skype and get it recorded. And you know how frustrated I was last week.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
know you were frustrated.
I do not believe in hitting inanimate objects because you always lose, but I really came close to punching a hole through a wall. I mean, I was that
Oh,
upset.
I could tell the moment
I
I
know
seen
you.
your
I
face.
As soon as we
You
got
were
off, I got
hot.
the text from you. Hey man, it's okay. Then you called me and said, "Hey, don't worry about it." But you know what it is? Is here's the deal: is I've never been a guy who felt good ever of letting the fans down. Whether I promoted a show, whether I wrestled, I always gave 100%. Guys always commented. I would come in the locker room and first thing I would do sometimes when I came from matches is I would just come through and just lay right down, just fall right down on the floor and just lay there. Basically because I was older than everybody else when we were on the road. And I went out there and I gave everything I had, man. Every time 100%. And you can go out there for 10 or 15 minutes and you can come back and be completely exhausted. I don't care what kind of cardio condition you're in or not. It can be very stressful because you have an emotional connection to the fans. You're trying to establish that at the beginning of the match, but you're also trying to get it to last during the match. So not only is that match mental and physical at the same time, it's psychological. So for me, that all those three things combined used to be physically exhausting because I didn't go out there and know everything we were going to do ahead of time. I didn't believe in that because if the fans aren't buying what you're selling, you're stuck.
You're
So a
right.
lot of times you got to step on the gas and you got to step on the gas hard. It's like a Michael Bay film, right? If you
Yep.
see Transformers or Armageddon, how's it start out? It start out pretty hot, right?
You're
Well, if
yes,
you
it
start out your
does.
match like a Michael Bay movie, you'll get their attention. And then if you notice what he does, he slows down and he settles into the story of the movie. And so you come out, you step on the gas, you get hot, you get people's attention, and then you get into the story of the match. So that can be physically exhausting to be able to plan that out. So I just really bothers me even to this day when it's only, I don't mean only a YouTube show, but when now it's actually a YouTube show. I still don't like to not show up. I had somebody text me and go, "Hey, what happened to the show tonight last week?"
Yeah,
And
I
what's
had a
up?
couple.
Because if I let one person down, I've let one person down too many,
Yeah.
and that's the way I feel. So I just I'm like you, man. I can't stand missing a week, and I don't care what it takes or where I travel or what I have to do. I'm going to make sure Tuesday nights live at 8 o'clock that we're going to get Triple T Radio up on YouTube, and people can sit back and enjoy wrestling, even though it's wrestling our way.
Hey, I love that. And really quickly, because you said about starting a match and getting the people hot, made me think of one of the all-time greats, Hall of Famer Roddy Piper. I know you'll appreciate this. I think of an interview he did many years ago when he said, listen, he says, I can remember the promoter would say, you got 15 minutes. And I'd look at the promoter and I'd say, no, no, I don't know how much time it's going to take. If I go out there and the crowd's already on their feet, well, I might start off at a 10. Or if I
Yeah,
go out there and the crowd is they're in an uproar, well, I might start out at a 5.
yeah.
But you can't tell me I've only got 15 minutes. I need to go out there and feel it. And then I can tell you how long it's going to take me to get it done. It's just one of those
Wow,
things I loved about Roddy. One of my
wow.
favorite things. Yeah,
That's one of the most brilliant statements I've ever
yeah.
heard.
I
You know what I
can't
mean?
tell you how long
It,
it's going to take me.
that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. I I remember one time wrestling the Bushwhackers, me and Jimmy Cicero, and it was at an outdoor festival, and it was about 90 degrees, and Cicero and I had so much heat just because it was the Bushwhackers.
Oh
But
yeah.
we'd also wrestled. We'd also been on TV in that area of Pittsburgh, so they knew who we were. And we just double teamed Dominic DeNucci the week before, Bruno Sammartino doing play by play. So we were hated pretty much.
Yeah,
And
yeah. You would.
yeah, so yeah, it's a good way to get hated in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So when we came out, and it's like literally 8 9 minutes, and the heat is so much that we keep sliding out of the ring, and Luke told the ref to come over and said, "Tell them not to lock up until the heat's dead." And literally, we had heat for 20 minutes, and we were supposed to go 15 or 20. We ended up going like 30, but we didn't lock up for 18 minutes. True story, because the heat was so intense. And Butch and Luke told me in the back, they said, "Look, you get that much heat, never lock up because you're going to ruin the heat. Let the heat die because you
Yeah.
can get it back. If you ruin the heat, you can't get it back."
Yep.
And I was like, that's the great thing about working guys like that and asking them questions back in the day. They just filled your head with so much knowledge. Guys that were around like Roddy and Bushwhacker, all those guys were so smart. And, they did it before the internet, before anything. They came out in a pair of black trunks, black boots, and they had to get over. And they're just so many little words of wisdom from those guys, man.
There's so
It's
many
great.
different things. I know. Same as when they used to say, if the shoes were wore out, then he's a comer, and if the
Yeah.
shoes weren't wore out, he was green. So, and even back in the day, you didn't dare turn your back to taunt the crowd or pose because they would club you as hard as they could for turning your back
That,
on them. You made me look like an idiot out there. Like I
well,
wasn't good enough to attack you from behind.
And I always learn that. And I can't tell you how many times I've watched guys that sent me matches and I see the baby face turn his back to the heel to talk to the crowd and the heel doesn't attack him. And I'm like, okay, he just punked you out.
Yeah, and
He
you
just
didn't do
punked you out.
anything about it. You just stood there and
Yeah.
took it. But you're the heel.
And you don't know how many times I wrestle guys who are green and they give me their back and that wasn't the start. And I just clubber them. And
You
when I
have
hit him
to.
from behind, I hit him full speed from behind. I let him know it.
If
You know
you're
what I
that
mean?
dumb to turn your back on a guy
Yeah.
like you, who is a veteran, who's you've been spoken to by the older gentlemen,
Yeah.
this is how you do it. So I pity the poor fool that decides he wants to turn his back on you and pose for the crowd because you're not the type of heel that's going to sit there and be made a fool
Nope.
of. And you
Nope.
shouldn't
Never.
be. You've already
Ain't gonna
paid your
happen.
dues. So
That would cast shame upon all the mentors that I've had in my career.
I guess it would.
I will never let that happen.
No, that's
So,
right, and you don't need to. No,
yeah.
don't need to. All right, so let's talk releases. The thing is flying out the door. We don't have to hit every one of them, obviously, but to certainly talk about some. And I'll ask you first and foremost. And please include Mike Chioda when I say this. I just what's the first one that pops into your mind where you're like, wow, I can't believe it.
Well, that besides Mike,
Yeah.
I got to tell you, probably honestly, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson
In the middle of a hot storyline. Dead center.
I don't. Thank you. I don't get it. I mean, for the life of me, why do you kill your own program that you've invested all this money into and just release the guy? I mean, that makes no sense at all. It's like, you know what it is you either look like a good businessman or an idiot, and everybody, no matter how good you are, whether you're Trump or whether you're Vince, at a certain point, you're going to look like an idiot. That really looked stupid to me because, I mean, I just, you don't do that. You just crapped on your own self.
And what do you do? I mean, what does AJ do? I don't know if you're aware, but he just returned last night. But, like, what is he really supposed to do other than, like, WTF, love you, hate that you're gone, even though we're in the middle of this hot OC angle? Yes, he got buried live at WrestleMania, but the storyline, the gimmick, the OC, the original club is on fire. How do you just cut that right in the middle of it?
Brother, you know what? It's befuddling to me how that happens. I mean,
I just don't get that.
Especially, I almost think at a certain point that Vince is like letting other people make those decisions because and I know he's getting older and stuff. I don't see that as a Vince decision, man.
No, and neither do I.
I mean, I honestly, I don't see it. I don't see that being Vince's call. I see that somebody is maybe pissed off, maybe upset. I don't know. And they just decide to hack a few guys off the roster. But then again, it is the COVID time, and a lot of strange things are happening, man. I don't know.
Boy, you ain't kidding.
Could it just be that it's the money? I mean,
I hate it.
You think about it. A couple of those things made no sense. So if you look at it, just like a football team has to have a roster, but they also have to have a salary cap. Maybe the money wasn't there to pay a lot of these contracts. The last thing Vince wants to do is have wrestlers saying they're not getting paid. So his responsibility is not to the wrestlers, it's to the shareholders. That's where his responsibility lies when you become a public corporation. So he's got to account to them. And when they have a bad quarter, he has to make a move that gives shareholder confidence. Because as the CEO of a corporation, the board of directors and the shareholders must have confidence in you. And when there's a loss, they need to see you make a move to cut that loss to keep confidence.
True.
Because no shareholder confidence means they sell their stock and the price of the stock drops down. Then the board of directors is really pissed off. So you make cuts, the board's happy, the stock stays the same because the payroll's less, and at least it doesn't decline again another quarter. So there's a business sense to this, but some of it didn't make business sense, and that's what's really weird.
All right, fair enough. But now let me because I guarantee you did not think of this scenario, and if you did, I want you to clarify it for me. We can go and we can cut somebody like Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Okay, these guys they're in a program. They're hot as all hell. Okay, let's pretend Vince McMahon right now says, "Okay, I just spoke to Steph, to Paul, I spoke to the top three guys in the board of directors. I got to cut some guys. If your excuse for cutting the OC is because, well, AJ's out anyway right now due to the buried live angle, so we're good. Let's cut them. Let me ask you something. Why not cut someone like Brock Lesnar, who you're paying seven figures to, who's not going to be around anyway till probably after SummerSlam, roughly? Now, and this is where I'm asking you the question. Is that a shareholder move so they don't lose confidence in him? Or is that a let's cut a bunch of minions, younger guys, less money, then get rid of our one guy who's got seven figures, but every time he comes, he pops a house? You tell me.
See, that's there. You go. That's the question that nobody can answer. I think right now, even I can't answer that question. I mean, it's just to me, it's kind of like I said, it's sort of befuddling. I understand some of the guys, and there's a thing I said to you earlier is I think to a certain degree, okay, with Vince, that once you're with Vince, if you start with him, if he releases you and you go somewhere else, it's no big deal. But if you try to finagle your release, or you try to get released, or ask for your release, or you go somewhere else and you become a star, let's say you leave there, let's say he releases you, and you go to TNA and you make it as a star there, like Luke Gallows did, and then you come back, there always seems to be a little niche in that loyalty thing on Vince's side. Like Vince all of a sudden's like, hey, when I released him, he went somewhere else and was a star, and that pisses me off. So here's what I'm going to do is this guy's always going to have the pencil mark next to him as a guy that can go, that I can cut, and I'm not going to feel bad about it. And, I think that's almost the thing, because look at the people that came in there at the end. Look at Mick Foley. Look at Austin. Look at all the guys that came up and made big money with Vince that never went anywhere else but there. When they were done there, they were done. You look at The Undertaker, who's been there since he was down in WCW 100 years ago. He's always stayed there through thick and thin, never argued about his pay or his money or his stock, and has been rewarded handsomely for it. And I think that's the thing. The younger guys that come up through NXT, I don't think Vince has any loyalty to. I think he looks at them as cookie cutter replacement guys.
So do I.
They all look like the tattooed bag boy from the grocery store down the road who got on the juice. That's all they look like. So I mean, those guys are everywhere. You can go to any gym in the world, they're there. So I think that's a little bit of it. No loyalty to that. But like I said, Mike Chioda, real tough one for me to understand, and tough for me to understand letting guys go during a hot program. I mean, if you're trying to continue to get ratings, the program that's bringing the most attention and is the hottest thing that you've got, how do you let two of those guys go, or three of those guys? How do you do that? I mean, I don't see. You notice on the show, I always tend to justify things that happen that people take emotionally as just the business.
Yep.
It's just the business of wrestling. This part of the business, with letting guys go that are in the middle of the hottest feud, like Gallows and Anderson, both friends of mine, cutting them loose. I don't get that, because that could have been built up to a WrestleMania main event next year. I also agree with you. Brock Lesnar, yeah, he comes in, and because he's a novelty, he still pops the house. And probably the best move he ever made was having a limited contract, because he's not overexposed.
Not at all.
It shows you what a lack of exposure can do to a commodity wrestler. If they show up every 2 or 3 months here or there, or every other pay-per-view they pop the house, it's because you're giving them just enough to make them hungry for that guy again, which was always wrestling anyway. Give the people just enough so they're still hungry to come back. That's the mentality. I think some of these people, the fans really just didn't care about them.
But
That
should
didn't go well.
but
Let me try to get you back. There you go. Sorry about that.
but
I'm getting
But should we be worried? And this is why I wonder if we should be worried. First of all, are you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Oh,
I'm just not technically savvy. I tried to swipe
neither
up
am
the
I.
text message I got, and I screen off.
Don't worry
And in
about
case you don't know, Cueball Carmichael's not tech savvy.
it.
Go figure. That's
So,
what my wife said. She was, listen. I gotta say, my wife was saying to the neighbor, Chris isn't very handy around the house, but he's really good at beating people up.
yeah,
That's what my
that
wife said.
seems about right.
She goes, it doesn't matter if it's as a cop or as a wrestler or just some guy that said something wrong in front of me.
Q, should we be concerned? No, and here's another scenario for you. There is one person out of that whole bunch where he was different because he seemed to always avoid the spring cleanup. He always seemed to avoid trouble. He never was released. He always seemed to come out of everything saved, no matter what position he was on in the card. Who am I referring to? I'm referring to Zach.
Ryder.
Thank you. And now he really is gone. Now he's
Yeah.
gone. Should we
He's
be
weathered the
concerned?
storm.
He has never
Yeah.
been released. He always
Yeah.
seemed to, because he was a big heart loving WWE fan for his entire life.
Yeah.
Should we be
Yeah.
concerned if that's where we're at now? We're cutting,
Well,
beloved.
when I see Zack Ryder go and Mike Chioda, I'm concerned. I'm
Yeah.
real concerned. I'm concerned that they're cutting expenses. They're cutting the guys with tenure, guys that maybe get close to being able to retire, and actually guys like Mike were an employee that are going to get retirement benefits. You cut them early, you don't pay them as much of retirement. And I think you're seeing the streamlining of the WWE, which I believe is going to lead to the sale of the WWE. I
And
really do.
it's so funny because that is where we're heading in this whole show. A lot of people that have been sitting kind of, oh well, they wouldn't do that because the plan is, guys, listen, money is money, and yes, it's a family business, but so were lots of companies out there, and they do get sold. I could sell, how would I say this? So if Q and I decide we want to sell the name of Triple T Radio, we can put in that deal that Q still goes with the name. He's still going to be a part of the show, but the actual brand is owned by someone else. We're going to get to all that stuff soon. Q, what do you say we talk about Ecamm really quick and just how great they are and how good they've been to us with this amazing production?
Unbelievable. Ecamm, they have been so good to us, and they're such an incredible product that even a non-tech savvy guy like myself can actually use Ecamm. It's scary. And you have done great things for the show with it.
Well, I'll tell you, Ecamm has really allowed for Cueball and I to present to you guys so many great things. All of these special videos that air, the special products that you see that we're able to put onto the screen, the upcoming shows that we're promoting, we're able to. We put our names on the screen. We're able to give you guys so many great things, and we try so hard for you guys because that's what we do. Ecamm is an official sponsor. It's also the official network of Turnbuckles, Trunks, and Titles, and it's just something I love. I love Ecamm Q, and they're able to give us this amazing show with an amazing production. So how could we really complain? We can't.
We can't. Well, all we can do is thank them. They're
That's right.
fantastic. If you're going to do anything on YouTube or Twitch or whatever, you got to go with Ecamm. For
And
sure.
not only that, guys, listen to this. I never even thought of this till right now. You guys can use this for Facebook, for gaming, for Twitter, for Instagram. Like, it doesn't have to just go live right here on YouTube. It gives you the option to do a one-click live go. you can't get no better than that because it's simple. And even someone like you who's computer illiterate doesn't even get it. I bet you he could just blow this show right out of the water. I know what you're thinking, Q. I'm an idiot and you wish I wouldn't have said that, but I love you too.
I'm just laughing because it's the truth.
Hey, listen, even
What
I had to watch
what's
a
this button
YouTube.
for?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hello?
What's the red X mean?
If I had a nickel for every time I screwed up when I was learning new software, I'd be a rich man. How about that?
Yeah, I hear that. That's funny. So yeah, I mean, what do you see on the horizon with these cuts? And you know, I mean, you said it best when you structure a deal for sale. You could sell the WWE, for instance, to Fox or to ESPN, with the fact that Paul Levesque, Stephanie, Vince all get $500,000 a year positions for 10 years or whatever you want to structure it at. Um, if I buy the WWE, do I want to change the management? Do I want to take a chance on buying a company that's been established for 50 years and screwing it up? It's obviously broken. We know it's broken. It's got to be fixed. Some things have to be done. It's really difficult to fill as many hours of television as they do,
I guess
and create
maybe.
storyline. I think one of the mistakes that the WWE has made in the past 20 years, and I'm not, I don't want to say that it's a mistake, but what I'm going to say is, they could have thought different, I think, when they decided their number one goal with wrestling was to sell merchandise. I
Yeah.
think that was a problem. I think, and that was the thing in the big part of the millennium, late '90s Attitude Era was, we can make more money on merchandising than we can even on wrestling. So we became a merchandiser. You know, we also wrestling became a video game to sell merchandise. Basically, what happens. So I think the division starts there. Then all of a sudden, televised wrestling is nothing more than an advertisement for paid wrestling for pay-per-views.
Yep.
And it just really kind of, when there was one pay-per-view every 3 months, there was a nice build up to it. WrestleMania took a year to build up.
It was
You can
amazing.
get too much of a good thing. People get too much. If you sit down and eat a piece of cheesecake, you want another one. If you sit down and eat a whole cheesecake, you don't ever want to eat another piece of cheesecake in your life. And they were giving a whole cheesecake out to everybody every night. So much wrestling, so much talking, so much uninteresting stuff to build up to the big pay-per-views. And then they went with a network, which in concept is a great idea to have a subscriber base. But in order to have a subscriber base grow, which it didn't, it's been stagnant forever.
Yes, it
In order to
is.
have a subscriber, in order to have a subscriber base grow, you have to offer new and interesting things.
Yep.
And all been kind of rehashed, same old stuff. Did it 20 years ago, but this time it didn't work. It's just really been stagnant for a while. And I think that Vince sees the direction it's gone in the last 15 or 20 years, and he probably doesn't even see how to change it in the next 10 or 15. So what do? Do you wait till it's worthless and sell it, or do you sell it when it's still worth, a couple $1 billion? You know, I say you sell it, you give Stephanie and Paul enough money to never work again. You already got enough money to never work again, and you walk away and let somebody else have at it. I mean, there's a time to fish and there's a time to cut bait.
But
And I think, I think, here's what I think. I
yep.
think ESPN could do a good job with it. I think ESPN would go back to the bookers booking the show and not so much the writers writing the show. I think they had enough wrestling on back in the day. I think there's a couple people up there, including Chris Berman, who's still obviously a big part of it. I think he understands the change in wrestling because I've heard him make comments years ago about, you could tell who wrote that, you know, and they were involved with wrestling back when it was wrestling. ESPN had wrestling on. So I think that it would be a good move for them to buy it. I think it might be a bad move if somebody like Fox bought it. They'd commercialize it even more, and it would be watered down. Wrestling is not basketball. It's not hockey. It's not football. It's not baseball. It doesn't have a season. If it did, people would forget who people were.
You're right,
It's never going to
dude.
work like that. It's got to run 24/7, 365, but it's got to have new and refreshing content. It's got to have good, compelling storylines and a lot of swerves. And I don't think a writer's ever going to be able to do that. But I know in the past, bookers have been great at it. So
Oh,
they really need to get a booker again.
absolutely. My
I mean,
my.
Dusty. I mean, you think of the guys that were bookers, man. I mean, why did wrestling all of a sudden become like soap operas and like everything else? Because writers took over and bookers got pushed out. And you go back to the day when there was bookers. I mean, yeah, there was less wrestling on TV and less pay-per-views, but it was still always compelling and interesting. Go back to Piper's Pit, right? Go back to those days, that type of thing. But you've got to create the characters, and you don't ever create a character by scripting what they say. Vince used to come up with a gimmick, and he would let the guys run with it and create the character. That's why Demolition was who they were. That's why the Bushwhackers were who they were. That's why the Legion of Doom was who they were. That's why all those guys were who they were, because here's the concept. Honky Tonk Man, here's the concept. Run with it.
Bonk's the
Bruce
gimmick.
Beefcake, here's the concept. Run with it.
Yep.
And it worked because these guys were all pros that came off basically the territories or the independent circuits. They've been out there for years wrestling. They'd honed their craft. And when he wrapped something on them, they knew how to develop the character. But the things were not written for them. And in the past 20 years, everything's been scripted and written since the Attitude Era. And people go out there, and to me, they look robotic. They look
Oh, they do. They
robotic in
do.
what they say.
Yep.
They look robotic in how they move. And that's just not what wrestling is. Athleticism on Broadway. It's not a sport. It's not sports entertainment. It's sports entertainment. The business is dying because it's sports entertainment. The business needs to go back to pro wrestling.
Well, I was going to say that. That's actually one of the things I was going to bring up. One thing, though, I'm going to break this down very similar to the way you just did. I think of Eric Bischoff saying back in the day about, well, WWE put out 3 pay-per-views, so we put out 3. WWE put out 6, so we put out 6. And WWE put out 12, so we said, hey, what's wrong with one a month? You know what? I think if you just stuck with 6, you'd probably still be here because you don't need a pay-per-view a month. They did it by having one every 4 months, and look at how good WWE got. See, Vince got it to the promised land, but Vince needs to know when to say, okay, it's time for me now to step away and let someone else take over. That's not me saying sell the company, but what it is me saying is, do I think Vince is a worn out dog? Not at all. I don't think that. But what I think is that the times have changed just like everything else. Guys like you who could still go down to the ring because you've evolved. You've changed with the times. Do I think you could sit out there? You're close to the big 6. Do I think you could go out there and run a 2-hour match with a 25-year-old? Probably not. But that's okay. That's okay. You paid your dues. You're well respected for that.
Right.
Do I think Vince can go into a room with 25, 20-year-olds and impress all 25 of them? No. His time is done. I don't think he needs to retire, but what his dad did was he was still, what's the word? He was in the background, but he was still, he was there.
He was like an overseer, or
Thank
not
you.
really.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Overseer is a good word. He was still there, though, which there's no reason why Vince can't say, you know what, guys, here. But I'm going to stay back here almost to make myself feel better so I know that you're running the show properly.
Yeah.
But
It's like, look. My friend owns a body shop, right?
Yep.
He's had it for 30 years. His dad had it for 35 years before that. His dad's 80. He goes to the business every day. He sits on the stool. He watches the mechanics. He talks to people. He oversees it, but he doesn't try to run it or get involved or get between people. And everybody loves to go to that shop because Mr. Bobby's going to be there, the overseer.
And
And the
I
same thing
know
with
two
Vince.
people like that here in my city that only
It's
go to
great.
sit and chat. I love that. You've earned
Yes.
it.
Yes, I love that too, man.
I tell
And
people all the
look,
time.
and if Vince could relinquish control and be that guy, he would, listen, there's no question when it comes to wrestling as a promoter, greatest of all time. There's no
Hands
question.
down. Hands down.
Hands down, legend, not throwing the word around lightly. But, how great would it be if he could spend the next 10 or 15 years in the back as an overseer, not trying to be in control, just let a guy, and look, not all great wrestlers make great bookers. Maybe the booker's not, Triple H. Maybe the
Maybe it's
booker
not,
is,
right? Maybe it isn't.
yeah,
Maybe it's really
maybe it
not
is,
going to
maybe
be
it isn't.
him.
Maybe there's somebody else more qualified. You know what I always said? Put 5 guys at a table to book shows, get everybody's idea, and then vote on it.
Yes. Yep.
Majority wins.
Yep.
With 5, there's always in a majority. They make all the matches, all the decisions. Because here's the important thing. Not only, you see, there used to be a booker and there used to be a matchmaker.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes they were the same guy and sometimes they were a different guy. You know, it's just like having a good agent, right? You're booked against me. The agent comes up and says, look, here's what we're trying to do. I've been talking to the booker. We're trying to get Nick over, but we don't want Nick to win for the next 6 months so he gets all the sympathy, but we want him to be competitive. So, Cueball, I want you to screw him in the finish. I want a foot on the rope. I want a handful of tights, whatever, to get him more sympathy. So that's what you got to do. You guys got 10, 12 minutes. Go home whenever you're ready. The ref will tell you when it's time, but, take your time and go home. We'll work with it. And bam, that's our job for the night.
Yep.
We know what we have to do. We're told why we're doing what we have to do, but we're not told the script. We're able to go out there and create
Yeah.
organically a
Create.
competitive match.
The biggest word missed in pro wrestling. Create.
And we're artists. Look, I've said it before. Da Vinci, Picasso, all those guys painted art on canvas. Wrestlers work on a canvas too, and we put on a piece of art called a crafted wrestling match, an organic match between 2 men that is competitive, fighting for not only their lives but for the winner's share of the purse. That's creating an art on canvas, the same as a Picasso
Yeah, absolutely it
or
is.
Renoir or Dali. Yeah, it's the same thing. So when we get out on that canvas, we must have the freedom to create. That's the business. That's the
I
business
agree
that keeps
100%.
people coming.
I don't go out there to I go out there. We have to tell a story. A lot of people don't realize this, and maybe they do, but they just don't say it. But we don't get to tell words with our mouth. We have to do it with our bodies. So,
Absolutely.
and only a true a true fan can can feel it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
That power
somebody's about
slam, they
connected.
feel it here. They feel it because they're excited. They understand the whole story from start to finish.
Look, Les Thatcher, the great Les Thatcher, told me 10 years ago. He says, maybe 15. He said, I want you to watch American Idol. And when The Voice came out, I want you to watch that. And I said, why do you want me to watch those shows? He goes, because the best singer never wins. The
That's
singer
right.
that connects emotionally with the audience is the one that wins. And you know what? 90% of the time he was spot on. And I still watch those shows. And I can tell you this, that it's the same with wrestlers. How well did people connect with Dusty Rhodes? They loved him. How well did they connect and hate Ric Flair?
They
It
loved them.
doesn't matter if it's a love or a hate connection, but there has to be that
Something.
connection.
Yeah.
When you connect with the crowd, you don't have to be the best wrestler in the world. You have to be the guy that knows how to connect with those people.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. Get them emotionally invested, and the art form of professional wrestling that you are putting forth on that canvas that is your blank canvas to begin with. That's as simple as it gets. You know, yeah, guy gets hit, guy gets punched, guy sells, guy sells, guy sell. You know, few wrestling moves, bada boom, bada boom, bada boom. Finish, bing, pop, yes, done. It's a little more complicated, but the fact of the matter is, it's a simple business at its basis. When a guy gets it, I guarantee you, and I'm not kidding you, and I'm not bragging. You go and you put me and Damian Wayne in a WWE ring 2 weeks from now. Let me go to tanning bed. Let me shave down, look good, get a nice tight singlet, hold my stomach in a little bit. Damien's in good shape. You put us in there and let us go 15 minutes, and I'll guarantee you that within 2 minutes there won't be a cell phone up, and nobody will be looking at their watch or their Fitbit. They'll be staring straight ahead at that
Yeah.
because we connect with each other so well that people connect with us. Him and I have been at a show with 700 people, and the match before we went on, every cell phone was up. Everybody was on the internet. They weren't talking wrestling. They were bored. You
Yeah.
could hear a pin drop. And there was two great athletes out there, but they had zero connection with the crowd because they were too busy trying to get their shit in. Wayne and I went out there, and when I tell you at the finish of this match, people were standing up at ringside, surrounding the ring on the finish when he came off the top with the elbow for the 1, 2, 3. That I'm not lying. Every one of those 150 or 200 ringside seats, those people were standing. So the people in the back had to stand. The whole place was standing up with the finish. When we were in the locker room earlier tonight, he said, "What do you want to do tonight?" I said, "I don't know. We'll figure it out when we get out there." I said, just hit me with the elbow for the finish. Went 16 minutes. People were on their feet at the end. Boom, big pop, come back. Bruce Tharp was there. Bruce Tharp goes, "I'd like to make you the next Dusty Rhodes." I said, "Can't do it. I can be the next Cueball Carmichael, but that's already been done, and I'm never going to do it as well as that guy." And that was when Bruce Tharp owned the NWA. I kid you not. He goes, "When I tell you that when you guys finished, it sounded like there was 1,000 or 1,500 people in the building instead of 700. It was that big of a pop." And we had so much fun. It was ridiculous. I worked his leg for like 10 minutes. That was it. He had to struggle and fight and get to the. It took him. He slammed me a couple times, dropped a knee in my head. I was out. But it took him literally 2 minutes to climb to the top rope because of his bad leg. And the people were chanting. The people were chanting. And I was just starting to come to as he flies off with the elbow. Bam. People went nuts, dude.
Let me tell
And it
you what
literally took him
my
2 minutes to climb the rope.
my
Unbelievable.
my favorite line out of everything you said there, the one line that it just nobody understands it except for the guys in the business, but my absolute favorite line that you said is, "Hey, what do you want to do tonight? I don't know. We'll call it out there." It's the greatest line, and it's probably they say kayfabe is dead. I think kayfabe's still alive, but it's certainly not good. That's for sure. But if anything was more
Right.
dead than kayfabe, it's hey, what do you want to do tonight? I don't know. We'll call it out there. You know, Vince, they're so monetized everywhere. Like, I don't care if you're an independent. You know, the promoter walks
Yeah.
out there and watches your match, and you know, like he's been around for 52 years, but really he's only been around for 2 years. But he thinks he's just the next Vince McMahon. Sorry, I'm about to go on a rant. I'm gonna stop now
Oh,
because I
no.
really
Yeah.
am.
One match every 3 months for 20 years.
Yeah, and they think they're Vince, and you know, I'm not gonna crap on people, but I guess you know that's kind of where I'm headed. So that's why it's best that I put up a roadblock. But it is an issue
Oh,
for me,
no, let
though.
it go, baby.
I can't.
Let it
I
go.
gotta run into
Let it
these
go.
people.
I
My
want to hear it. I want
biggest
to hear
thing
you
is
go.
somebody who just, you know, hey, let me see your stuff. What stuff? Let me see your match. What? A match? Okay. And you're looking at them like, well, what are you gonna? You're gonna tell me how to fix it? Like, what are you, the 300 people in the crowd that are chanting my name or chanting my opponent, and you're already able to tell me what they're gonna like and not like? And that's why they say, I don't know if I need more time than 15 minutes. I got to go out there and I got to feel the crowd and see where we're at. I may start at a 5 and go up to a 9 and bring it down to a 2. Thank you, Roddy. Because people don't, you know what I mean? No, do you get it? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's
Oh
just,
yeah.
oh my God, I need a whole
Look,
hour to rant.
dude, you were just like me. You were on that rant. I shouldn't have said anything. I just let you go. That was the best rant you've had since we've been doing the show, dude. And
Oh,
you stopped yourself, and I wish you just let it
I
go.
can't
Let
stand
as
when
your
somebody
therapist and
says,
your friend, as your therapist and your friend, I need you to let it go. I know you want to.
oh, I'll tell you
Oh
what
my
we'll
god, I can
do.
see it in your face.
You want me to have a rant? What we should do is watch. We should watch a DVD of just independent wrestling one show where you're able to see the
Yeah,
screen. Then I can
yeah, for
rant.
sure.
Because there's nothing I hate more than when I can hear the referee telling them we gotta go. I'm being told by the promoter, guys, boys, what are you doing? No, no, we gotta go home. We gotta go home. And you got the promoter who walks down the stage like he's trying not to get noticed, but he's going out there because he's trying to tell the referee to tell the boys to end the match. It's just
Oh my god,
unreal.
when you got television,
Yeah, and
you got you.
you're on Eastlink. You're on TV, and you're going, oh, what's going on here? That's Joe. What's Joe doing? Yep. Hey, can you tell them to hurry up, man? We gotta go home. I gotta stop taping in 2 minutes. Like,
Oh my
it's
god.
just one of those things, where it can just drive you nuts. We're gonna do a whole show on rants. A whole show.
Yeah, we should definitely do it. We need to pull up some independent wrestling, maybe from an area that neither one of us are from.
Probably
So
be a better
there's no
idea.
there's no bias.
Yeah,
Pull something up out
because
of California or Colorado or somewhere or Alaska and just watch it and just be honest if you imagine me critiquing a match on this show,
I
oh
love
my
it.
gosh, it would be hilarious, dude. It'd
Well,
be
the thing
unbelievable.
is, so many companies are airing. So many companies are airing these. Like I know NWE right now here in Miramichi, they're airing like one show a week where it's our.
Do it.
It's an event. So it's one show a week, but they've only been around for like 7 years. But they're acting like they've been around for 30, and they got all this footage. And I'm like, what are you doing? Well, you don't want us to criticize, but you're putting some of this crap that's you did on the show. And I'm thinking if Cueball sees this, he's gonna come on this show, gonna rip you a new one. He's gonna rip me a new one for knowing you. It's gonna be horrible. Anyway, but these companies are doing that, and then they're going, "Oh, but don't say anything negative about us." Well, then don't air your stuff unless you know you're a pro, and you know you're a pro. You know when you're a pro.
Look, look. I sell on Amazon, and you know what Amazon's rule is? They send out a request for an honest review of the product. So I live by that. I will give you an honest review of your product. If it sucks, it sucks. If it's good, it's good. If it's great, it's still only going to be good. But I'll give you an honest review of your product. Unless you bring out my favorite of all time, the original Stampede Wrestling, it's never going to be great. Never going to be great. That was the greatest. To me, brother, that was the greatest. I got so much of that footage, man.
Man,
It's unbelievable.
I
I
can't remember
love
who
it.
the bad guy was now, but I can remember I can remember him being in the ring at the announcer, and I remember him going something about Daddy's not going to be here for you
The
anymore.
Apache Brown?
No,
Bad news.
no, it definitely wasn't. I don't want to
Gama
say
Singh.
why, but
Gama Singh.
I
Maybe.
I don't can't remember. But I just remember him going, Bret Hart, Daddy's not gonna be here for you anymore. And Bret was only like 19, right? He was just a kid.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're going
Yeah.
back, But good stuff,
Oh yeah.
great stuff,
Oh,
great
oh,
stuff. Love Stampede.
what a lot of people don't know is the three-way dance was invented by them, and it was called the Bermuda Triangle match.
Now, see,
That
that's
was they
cool to
invented
me.
that.
That's a cool
Yeah.
piece.
Oh yeah,
I
that's
like
that's
that.
cool. The Bermuda Triangle match is what they called it, and that was the first. That was the first company that ever did it, aired on TV anywhere,
Really?
and they never get the credit for it.
No, because
You
I
know,
never knew
when they
that.
created the Bermuda Triangle, and what an ominous name for it, right? The Bermuda
Yeah.
Triangle. Even in Calgary, people could relate to the Bermuda
Yep. They
Triangle
sure they
match.
could. Yeah.
There was gonna be something really bad happening because it was the Bermuda Triangle. It
Absolutely.
was so brilliant.
I remember the first time I heard WCW called a three-way dance, and I was pissed because I just thought, what a stupid name. And then WWE
Uh,
called it a triple threat, and I was like, okay, that's cool, triple threat. But
Better than a three-way
I
dance.
hated the three-way dance. I just hated
Uh,
the name. And the name
well,
on
it also broke kayfabe because we always say we don't run, we dance.
right, yeah,
We don't race,
yes.
we dance. So it's kind of part of the business that's your dance partner for the night. That was always the backstage thing, and they go and put it in the title. It's like, who do I drive down and punch in the face right now, Fran?
Well, this
Tell me, because I'll
this
go.
this was WCW. Q. Remember the
I didn't punch
Yeti?
him in the face.
Remember the
Yeah, I didn't punch him in
Yeti?
the face. Yeah, yeah. Let me tell you something.
Oh,
It's like if I was ever, I don't want to make this sound terrible or anything, but if I was a man who had 6 months to live with all the armament that I have and the thousands of rounds of ammunition, I would never go and hurt innocent people. But I sure would go scare, not kill, but scare the hell out of some people that have screwed up the wrestling business. I really would.
so would
I
I.
wouldn't kill anybody. I'm not that type of guy, but I'd scare them really good.
You're damn right you would. Of course you would. Why wouldn't you? Hey, listen. Speaking of
Look,
getting really good, I know we're gonna end the show here soon. Actually, I want you to finish talking and say what you want to say because I want to end the show on not a sad note, but a little bit downer of a note.
okay.
So you finish what you were going to say.
Well, my whole thing is I just think that the WWE needs a big change. It's been stale since the Attitude Era, which now is going on 20 years. Um, do I think it would be good if it was sold? If it's sold to the right person, I think it would. We see what happens. The NWA was sold to a guy with money, and it's kind of in obscure now. The NWA, and so I don't want to see that happen to WWE. I want to see somebody get it, buy it, and get bookers back in the business and create the art of professional wrestling and let guys develop their characters themselves. And let's get back to, not so much sports entertainment, but pro wrestling. Look, people know Tom Cruise is not Jack Reacher or Ethan, what's his name in Mission Impossible, but they still go spend 150 to 200 million dollars in the first week of one of those movies coming out at the theater, and I've watched Jack Reacher about 10 times, and I like it. And I know Tom Cruise is not Jack Reacher, but I'm willing to suspend my belief to enjoy it.
Yeah,
People will do the same with professional wrestling,
sure they will.
not so much with sports entertainment. So
Absolutely,
let's
they
get
will.
back. It's time to go back to bookers
Yep.
and pro wrestling, brother.
Sit around the pool and book the territory.
That's bingo.
Yep.
That's it.
I agree. I agree. Okay, this is I'm gonna be a Debbie Downer on you. I didn't even tell you I was gonna bring this up. Nothing. Something we have not been able to do on this show because we have just things have not. You've been busy. I've been busy. You've been busy. I've been busy. Nova Scotia. The mass shooting the killings in Nova Scotia just a week and a half ago. That it was crazy. It's now being called the biggest mass killing in Canadian history. It was literally an hour and a half, well, a couple hours from my home. Um,
Yeah, it's cool.
yeah, so we haven't been able to have a 10 bell salute or even discuss it. And really, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because number one, the only people that deserve any time on it are the victims. Certainly not the shooter, and
Perpetrator.
you know
Yeah.
the portraying and pretending to be an RCMP officer, and he had a vehicle, and I don't care to spend any time on him. But to the
Right.
victims, I just want everyone to know that
No.
all of this Nova Scotia Strong, the donuts being sold by Tim Hortons, the flags that were lowered, most certainly deserving in every way. All of the tributes and the little comments celebrities are making worldwide. It's great to see. I love Nova Scotia, beautiful place. It's only a
Oh, it's
couple hours from
gorgeous. Yeah.
home. I Melissa and I were just over there back in March. So
Yeah.
it's
I remember.
yeah. So it's tragic. It's very sad, and I obviously I just it deserves to be mentioned.
Yeah.
It's Nova Scotia proud, and yeah, it's
I
crazy,
want to tell you that Nova Scotia is one of my favorite places on the entire planet. It's
beautiful.
gorgeous. I've been there. I love it. It's just I've been through the Maritimes. I loved Nova Scotia. The people are so incredibly friendly there. It's unbelievable. I'm Canadian at heart and birth, and so for me, it was very sad and very tragic, and just we pray for the people or the
Absolutely.
families of the people that were injured and killed there. Pray for them. It's
Well,
a sad time and they need us.
it really is, and like I said, I'm not. I could sit here and talk for a few more minutes about the individual responsible because obviously there's more things said, but one person that passed away was an RCMP officer, a lady who was married with children, and she was very young, like my age young, and that's very young, and
Yeah.
he was killed, and it's just so sad. It's sad for everyone, obviously, but
Yeah.
this lady is trying to serve and protect, and she was trying to protect us, and she was killed in the line of duty, and it's just a terrible thing. But I wanted it to come up. I did not want to leave tonight's episode. I didn't want to leave it hanging. I didn't think it deserves that. I think it deserves the first show we're doing. Like right now, it's deserving of
Yeah.
being mentioned on the show. So it's a
Oh,
terrible
absolutely.
thing.
And listen, if you don't mind, I'd like to lead us in a little prayer for the people, if that's okay with
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Dear Lord, we ask that you watch down, Father, and I'm sorry for that. My computer. Dear Lord, we ask that you please look down on us, Father, and you watch out and guide the families of the victims of the terrible tragic shooting in Nova Scotia, dear Lord, that you bless these families with some peace and solace. We especially pray for the slain RCMP officer who was doing her duty, a mother, a wife, someone who took an oath to protect people with her life and did exactly that, dear Lord. But also the people, the brothers, the sisters, the mothers, the fathers, the sons, the daughters of the victims, dear Lord. We ask that you watch down on them, you lift them up, you give them some peace in this and out of this terrible tragedy, dear Lord, and continue to stay with them throughout their difficult days. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. All right, man. Well, thank you very much. It's actually really touching that you do that.
Thanks, man.
So I hope that we'll come back here next Tuesday. We're gonna do this all over again. Um, I don't know what we're
For
doing,
sure.
but we'll figure it out. Why don't you send us on out of here?
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you again for listening to another edition of Triple T Radio. That's Turnbuckles, Tights, and Trunks, and Turnbuckles, Tights, and Tiles. And we can hope that you come back next week, Tuesday night, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. Canadian Maritime Time. And continue to listen to us and subscribe to these two crazy guys. So you can't keep it together, but love each other and love the wrestling world together. And Nick, it's always great doing the show with you. You're like my little brother, and fantastic, great show. Love you. Thanks for being on with me.
All right, buddy. I love you too. We'll talk soon.
All right, man. Sounds
All right,
good.
buddy. See you later. Love you. Bye bye.